Thank you very much. And thank you, Henry, for those great, kind words. And let me start off, because I'd be remiss. Everybody, please give a round of applause to my new bride, Kimberly Jones. Thanks to my parents, my mom, my new in-laws, my chairman, Quincy Murphy, chairman of the legislative delegation, my good friends of Wayne Howard and Gloria Frazier and Alvin Mason and Corey Johnson, and I see the chairman of the Democratic Party, Lowell Greenbaum, and Calvin Holland, and also Bill Lockett was also here. I see Reverend K.B. Martin, and I appreciate everyone's support, and thank you so much for coming out, because it means a great deal to me. And this is going to be a very interesting election, because it is so important. And let me also be remiss if I didn't announce two other persons. I want y'all to meet, and when we're eating, she'll come around and introduce herself. Meet PJ Campanero. She's the chief assistant in my office. She's the person that we need to take over for me when I get ready to leave. Also, let me introduce Michael Curry, who's here in the audience, who's a former NBA player. Former NBA coach, but most importantly, just an all-around great guy. Kim and I had the opportunity to have dinner with him and his wife, and also one of my best friends, Daryl Belser. And one of the things I learned about Mike is he is just a terrific individual. And more importantly, he's also a Glen Hills High School graduate. And I thank all the persons who have given me their endorsement today. On Friday, I had the opportunity to get one final endorsement, or not final, but another endorsement. He would like to have been here today, but he currently is out of the country. But he is a great Democrat, and he told me to tell y'all that he was openly supporting me and would do whatever he can to make sure I was elected. He has been our United States Senate nominee. He has been our Lieutenant Governor nominee. And that is none other than a great Democrat and a great friend of Augusta, Jim Martin, is now supporting also this campaign. And Jim has always been a friend of working class and middle class people, and I dearly like the fact that he has come and put his support behind me. So many persons have come and asked me and said, why is it that you want to run for this position? And I tell them it's because of opportunity. But it's not personal opportunity. It's opportunity for you. It's opportunity for our community. It's opportunity for District 22 to have someone to represent them who is unapologetic in his support for working class and middle class people. To have someone who is unapologetic that the special interests in our state have had their say. And now for Georgia politics, it's time for regular people to have a voice in the state Senate. And so all of these officials who have signed on to this campaign are not signing on to a campaign, but to a cause. You are here today for a cause that has been brewing over the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, as our state and our nation has faced tough economic times, we have all looked at the landscape. And we have realized that we have to put away our small differences and come together to work as one people, one city, and one state to make a difference. Because the landscape that we saw, when we looked at our neighbors, we saw young people who had graduated from Glen Hills High School and Butler High School and Westside High School. And we saw that they had worked so hard. They had avoided peer pressure. And when it was time for them to go to college, it became difficult for them to do because there was no availability of student loans. But yet, the banking industry that put us in this mess gets $1 billion worth of bailout. That started our cause. And you see, when we looked out into the landscape and saw that persons who were lucky to go to college South Carolina State University, University of Georgia, Benedict, University of South Carolina, and perhaps they were lucky to get a job and then go on to law school. And they got a job in the district attorney's office, or they got a job in the state's attorney's office. Over the last 2 years, their hard work was rewarded with layoffs and furloughs and cuts. But yet, when we looked out in the landscape and we saw that the insurance companies that were responsible for all of this, they got billion-dollar bailout. And we started to realize there's something wrong with this picture. We looked at our neighbors who had worked hard and had never asked for a dime from the government, who had opened their own business, but yet now their business was failing. Not because they did bad marketing, not because they didn't work hard, but because they were involved in the economy that no longer cared about small business people. And so we saw these people who had worked hard all their lives, never asking for anything, but yet now they were in serious trouble. And we saw them, but then we saw a mortgage industry get billions of dollars of bailout. And you said, as I said, as we sat back, that there is something wrong with that. And so our call started not with us even discussing it with each other, but we knew whether we were African American, white, Latino, or Asian, we knew there was a cause out there that we needed to join. And that is what this campaign is about. But we don't have to just look at the national level. We can look at decisions that have been made just on the state level that has affected our lives. Just a few years ago, Georgia legislature passed a law which basically eliminated income taxes on many special interests. And make no mistake, Georgia's income tax level has always been one of the lowest in the country. This was just a straight giveaway to special interest. Just last year, we saw a bill passed which would encourage insurance companies to basically force people into high deductible insurance areas because they would receive over $200 million worth of tax credits. The bill that was passed basically was like this: you can't afford insurance now, but we'll give you $250 if you enroll in a plan where your deductible is $2,000, maybe $3,000. Obviously, you still can't afford insurance. But yet the insurance companies would receive $150 million a year worth of tax credits. So whether we're talking about nationally or locally, the middle class, the working class, is being stuck. And that's why I come here today. Because no longer could I look at the fact that us, you and I, persons that went to Glen Hills, persons that went to Westside, persons that went to public schools, we're no longer getting what we deserve to have in the American dream. Make no mistake, Georgia doesn't have a spending problem, it has a revenue problem. And the fact of the matter is, to cure this revenue problem, what is put on the table is jobs of middle-class people. That's what's always talked about. But do you hear anything about the things that I just talked about? That's never placed on the table. We need somebody who's going to go up there and change what is talked about at the table. One of my potential opponents in this race states that he has been at the table. And I would say that if you brag about the fact you've been at the table as the special interest receives break after break, but the middle class continues to fall back, then you need to be removed from that table. So it is time to move from just the status quo of being content just to sit somewhere when change is needed. Change is needed for all of Georgia and for regular Augustans.